This message comes from Charles Schwab. When it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices, like full-service wealth management and advice when you need it. You can also invest on your own and trade on Thinkorswim. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
Jobs. Love them or hate them, most of us can't live without them. The unemployment rate has been climbing over the past few years, but we keep hearing that historically it isn't that high. Even so, some people have been talking about having a really, really tough time finding work. There's been reporting that some people are sending out hundreds of resumes with no offers in sight. Here's listener Jordan Redwine, who called in.
I'm not even an entry-level person in my industry. I've been just pounding the pavements and just getting stonewalled.
There is so much AI involved in this process now, and you're increasingly just up against such an icy void.
Wait, I see you wincing.
I've been reduced to noises. I don't even know what to say.
This is non-employment. For the next few weeks, we're breaking down why getting a job and keeping it feels so hard right now, and how our ideas about employment just aren't matching up with today's realities. In this episode, we're getting into the job market, why the decent macroeconomic numbers aren't adding up for job seekers, and why everyone might be stuck in an AI doom loop. I'm joined by Wailin Wong, co-host of NPR's Indicator podcast.
Thanks for having us.
And Nitish Pawa, staff writer for business and tech at Slate.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. Okay, first of all, what is going on in the job market right now? How are things looking?
They're looking a little weird, I would say.
People are saying this.
People are saying this. I mean, empirically, what's happening is that we are really seeing the pace of job creation, job growth slow down. Looking still positive, but not really blockbuster numbers. And at the same time, you're not seeing a huge increase in the unemployment rate. And so that's why people call this, a low hire, low fire. Practically what that means is that if you have a job, you're probably okay. And that if you're looking for a job, then it probably feels really lousy to be out in the labor market right now looking for a job. Yeah. Things are just kind of stuck.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wailin nailed it. I think one way you can definitely describe it is just very slow. I mean, the economy is just at a sluggish rate, and it has been going that way for a while now. I mean, not least thanks in part to, high interest rates. People generally, no matter what sector they're in, they're hesitant to invest too much in new hires, and they're also hesitant to take on, say, hires who require more resources. Say, maybe you want someone who's a lower paid entry-level position, but you don't want to put in all the time and money into training them. There's a lot of just trying to not take too many risks or not grow too fast and such in this time when no one really knows what the economic situation may look like even 3 months from now.
Now, one thing I'll note is that we keep hearing this statistic that, unemployment is low. As true as that number may be, I still feel like so much conversation in the media, on social media, with people I know is really focused on unemployment and underemployment. I feel like a lot of people are experiencing a really tough time.
I think that when you hear the headline unemployment figure, that is the broadest possible measure of unemployment. And it's when you drill down into some more specific categories of how workers are doing that it becomes clear why certain workers are feeling perhaps worse than others. And so, for example, the Black unemployment rate, it's always historically been higher than the mainline unemployment rate. And because you had all of the public sector cuts from DOGE at the beginning of last year, Black workers are kind of disproportionately represented in the public sector workforce. And so that's why you're seeing numbers for Black unemployment much higher than the baseline unemployment rate right now. Also, this kind of low hire economy is particularly hard on young workers, early career workers. They're having a much harder time getting their foot in the door in a labor market where, like Nitish said, there's a lot of caution and there's not a lot of willingness to spend the resources to train someone who is maybe new and has less experience. And so if you look at the unemployment rate for people between 20 and 24 years old who have college degrees, it's up more than a full percentage point from last year. The Bureau of Labor Statistics measures how many people say they are employed part-time for economic reasons. And that means that they wanted a full-time job and they either couldn't find one, so they accepted a part-time job, or they got their hours cut. And the number of people employed part-time for economic reasons is at its highest level since 2021. So this could also contribute to this malaise where I'm working, but I'm not happy in my job. This isn't the job I really wanted. I'm not getting enough hours, so I'm not making enough to support my family. A lot of those things I think you could read into this number.
Right. But I also remember this other trend in unemployment was happening not that long ago. Y'all remember the Great Resignation? It was only in 2021, 2022 when workers left their jobs in record numbers to look for other work. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. I feel like I have whiplash right now with how quickly the employment trends have shifted.
Yeah. And, there's this labor economist I've interviewed before who I think has captured a really nice empirical measure of this shift that you're describing, Brittany. So his name is Aaron Sojourner. He's a labor economist, and he came up with something called the labor leverage ratio. And it's very elegant. It is the ratio of quits to layoffs. And so basically, it's a measure of worker power. This is how he describes it. Because when workers have a lot of outside options, then quits go up. But when bosses have more options, then firings go up. And during the Great Resignation, workers had lots of options if they wanted to leave their job and go find one that they found more fulfilling, that paid them more, that offered better benefits, that let them work remotely or move across the country or to a different country or something like that. And now that's going away because the labor market is cooling. So we are seeing this shift in power back to employers from workers.
So this phenomenon of people sending out like hundreds of applications and hearing nothing back, is that new? And if it is, why is that happening?
Yeah, they call this ghost jobs, and that can take a bunch of different forms, but it's definitely a thing. We've documented it on the Indicator. And just to give you one stat, for that Indicator episode, we talked to this jobs analytics company, and this company analyzed online job postings, and they said that in 2018, 1 out of every 5 job listings would not result in a hire, right? So that means like 4 job listings would result in a hire, 1 would not. And then a few years ago, 1 out of 2 would not result in a hire. So it's gotten much worse. This is anything from someone who sends out an application and never hears back to a listing just being straight out fake, like a LinkedIn post or something on an online job board being fake. And there's a lot of different reasons for this. One that I thought was interesting, and this could be an edge case. The way these online job boards are set up, often employers pay a certain amount of money and then they get to put up a certain number of postings. So some employers, in order to, maximize their money, they're like, well, we'll just use our maximum number of postings, even if maybe they're not really going to hire for all of those jobs just because they don't want to waste their money because they've already been charged for those postings.
Oh my God.
I'm looking at your face,
so
Brittany. It's that is a really depressing reason.
That's dark. It's really disheartening.
A certain company will have listed a bunch of potential hiring opportunities just to let their investors know hey, we're still growing, we're still, hiring, we're still doing this thing. The person who gets screwed is the applicant because they don't know.
But then I think what's happening on the employer side is they're getting so many applications now because it's so easy to apply for a job by just clicking through or, using AI to apply for a bunch of jobs at once that employers are finding it very overwhelming too. And so maybe that's why they're not getting back to people. I think the process is really crummy for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you bring up AI. Some companies are using AI to filter out applicants. I've also heard of some companies using AI to conduct first round interviews.
Oh, yeah, that's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some applicants are using AI to write their applications, or they're using bots to send more applications out, as you mentioned, Waylon.
Mm-hmm.
The CEO of Greenhouse, which is a recruitment software company, called this an AI doom loop. Tish, is this something you've seen come across in your reporting? Like, has AI fundamentally changed the job market?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Coming up,
Both dating, online dating especially, and the job market, well, they're both markets, right? They're matching markets. And so we kind of created a little situation with technology where then there's too much noise in the market, right? We're not finding optimal matches.
stick around.
This message comes from Ollie. This year, Ollie helps you trade New Year, New You for something easier, like cozy nights with your dog. After the holiday rush, quiet moments matter more. Soft blankets, a comfy couch, and the calm that comes from being present with your pup. Spending intentional time together can ease stress, lift your mood, and help you reset. Ollie supports that slower rhythm with fresh, human-grade meals and personalized plans. Visit ollie.com/wolf and use code WOLF for 60% off your first box.
This message comes from LinkedIn, who knows how even one hiring nightmare can ruin your small business dreams. That's why LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant uses insights from over 1 billion professionals to create a personalized shortlist of the best applicants, and even finds candidates you would have otherwise missed, so you can hire right the first time. Start hiring with LinkedIn and post your job for free today at linkedin.com/NPR. This message comes from NPR sponsor, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Finding the right leads can feel like an endless search for sellers. What if you could get to the right conversations faster? From finding new leads to strengthening existing relationships, LinkedIn Sales Navigator is your strategic AI-powered partner. It cuts through the noise with real-time data and insights, backed by LinkedIn's network of over 1 billion professionals. Try it free for 60 days at linkedin.com/benaminute. That's linkedin.com/benaminute. Terms and conditions apply. This message comes from Kachava. It feels good to connect to your simpler side. Simplifying your wellness with Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake feels good too. With 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and more, no fillers, just the highest quality ingredients. Simplify your nutrition at Kachava.com and use code NPR. New customers get $20 off an order of 2 bags or more now through January 31st. That's KACHAVA.com, code NPR.
Has AI fundamentally changed the job market?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the time, I mean, obviously, people are so desperate that they're trying to hit the keywords. They're trying to, hide like a little like plain text in their resumes to make sure it gets picked up by the engines, or that it will like appeal to the robot who may do their little first round interview. There is so much AI involved in this process now. And there's so much of this process that's been automated. There's so many, as part of like, certain job cuts, a lot of like middle management, a lot of like stewardship, human on human, interaction has also been cut in order to like save costs, save capital, whatever. You're increasingly just up against like such an icy void.
Waylon, I see you wincing.
I've been reduced to noises. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to get a grip on it if you haven't like either been through the process yourself, or if you haven't talked to people who've been through this process. Like when I've talked to myriad applicants, like, they'll tell me like, I'm with my parents right now. I'm trying to explain to them the situation, and they just don't believe me.
Oh,
yeah.
I think it's like when Atish talked about the icy void. It's this like blankness, it's the black box of AI and the algorithms, and you feel like you're at the mercy of these machines or these programs that, don't really know you. You don't know who coded them, who trained them. And when you're talking about a process as sensitive and existential as hiring, am I going to get this job or not? It is scary to think that there could be, an algorithm that was trained by someone who did not recognize their own biases, who then has encoded those biases into hiring algorithms, right? So it doesn't recognize unconventional experience or something that you could explain if you just were able to talk to that hiring manager face to face to whatever, explain a gap in your resume or explain why, your work as a circus clown would serve you well in this customer service job you're applying for. Like, there's no opportunity to do that when you're just typing stuff into a box that's being scanned by a robot,
We're talking about like a big kink in this process. And Aki Ito, chief correspondent at Business Insider, she pointed out recently that this kind of clog, I guess, is similar to what users might experience on dating apps. And some companies like Greenhouse and LinkedIn have essentially added what on Tinder is a super like, or on Hinge is a rose. For those who don't know, it's like a special ping you can send on dating apps to show someone that you're really interested, and you only get a few of them. Same deal with Greenhouse's dream job feature, where you can tell a company you really, really want that job, but you only get to use that once a month. What do you make of this comparison between searching for a job and searching for a date?
I will say a couple years ago, I covered the announcement from Bumble's founder that she was very interested in having AI concierges help screen the dating process for you. You basically have some sort of disembodied coded representation of yourself interacting with someone else's disembodied coded representation of themselves. It's supposed to be more efficient. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of AI-powered gatekeeping we're seeing in the job market, right? And it also speaks to, I think, just how these things that define our lives, the way that they're being automated is sapping any sense of humanity from them. And in the pursuit of, again, efficiency or whatever, I think when you focus too much on that, you lose sight of what actually makes these processes, fulfilling.
Both dating, online dating especially, and the job market, well, they're both markets, right? They're matching markets. And so you have people on either side of this transaction, let's call it, that are looking for their optimal match, right? So we kind of created a little situation with technology where then there's too much noise in the market, right? We're not finding optimal matches because of all of the reasons we've been talking about, like the fake listings or just the inefficiency of the numbers game. And so I think that people running these sites are now like, okay, we need a technological fix to this. And so what we need is to cut through all of the noise with a stronger signal. We need to build a tool that will allow people in this market to signal their strongest preference in order to make this market more efficient. I think that's what's happening from kind of an economic perspective. I think that, to address the kind of inhumanity or the dehumanizing factor that Nitish talked about, it's because, we just keep falling back on technology to be like, well, this problem kind of came out of technology, so we'll just put in more technology to try to fix it. And, maybe that gets us stuck in a little bit of a doom loop, to borrow a term that you threw out previously, because maybe the fix is actually something that doesn't have to do with technology. I don't know what it could be, but clearly the technology is not making people happy either.
Now that we're talking about this, I'm thinking about it some more. This technology was meant to solve a problem, and it kind of, in both cases, it seems like it's kind of broken both of these processes down. I'll say, you need to be able to pay bills to live, right? And having companionship is amazing. I'm married. I adore my husband. I'm obsessed with him. I found him on the apps. But if the apps didn't exist, I could go out to my local bar and chat with somebody and eventually get a date. You can swear off the apps and still get some motion. You cannot be I'm getting off of LinkedIn. For most people, for most workers, they can't, whatever the employment site is, it's very difficult to get off of these things and then try to find a job. I mean, we kind of got to figure this out. I'm thinking about it. We kind of got to figure this out. I wonder, like, what does this whole quagmire, this frustration in the job market say about how we work and how we find work is changing?
This discussion makes me think about the K-shaped economy. Have you guys been hearing about the K-shaped economy?
Oh, yeah.
Please enlighten me. I don't know.
So if you picture what a K looks like, you've got two diagonal parts, right? And one is going up and one is going down. And that's how our economy is being described now, because you have high earners who are still doing well. And while the stock market stays up, their wealth is still intact. So they are still spending like everything is tip top. And you can see that in, consumer spending patterns. And then you have lower earners and people who are in more financially precarious circumstances who are scared to death and they are not spending. It's like never the twain shall meet, right? So it's kind of like you have people having extremely different circumstances, almost polar opposite experiences of the same economy. I think that's also what we're seeing in the job market, right? Like in a low hire, low fire environment, again, it's like if you have a job, you're feeling maybe okay. If you don't have a job, you feel like you're never going to get a leg up in this economy. And it's a little discomforting to me to think about kind of people existing in such different circumstances, because it kind of means that it's harder to understand what other people are going through. And then it's like your reality is so different. It's so disconnected from someone else's reality that like, how are we supposed to, find community and work together for, policy solutions and, build bridges across social economic classes and stuff like that. So I think about that a lot.
I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with both of you today to get some clarity around all this mess. Thank you both so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
That was Wailin Wong, co-host of NPR's Indicator podcast, and Nitish Pawa, staff writer for business and tech at Slate. And to all of you listening, I want you to know that I see all these sweet messages you've been leaving me. I may be keeping my peace by turning off notifications on my phone, but I want you to know that my whole team and I read every message you leave in the comments and reviews. One of y'all said that you look forward to every episode and literally feel smarter each time you listen. Another said that this show has been a, quote, lighthouse in the storm. Another said that every morning you check to see if there is a new episode of this show. If you relate to any of this, please rate and review the show wherever you're listening. It helps grow our community and is one of the easiest ways for you and me to interact. Thank you for all the sweet notes, and I can't wait to hear from you soon. Love y'all. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Liam McBain.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Our supervising producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Mint Mobile. This holiday season, stop overpaying for wireless and switch to Mint. Shop 50% off unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/switch. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Above 35 gigabytes, network may slow when busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. This message comes from Amazon Pharmacy. Imagine having anxiety, and then, on top of that, having anxiety about your anxiety meds. You might stress about whether the meds are going to get refilled on time, or if you need a renewal, or if you need an appointment for a renewal. And then there's the general waiting in line at the pharmacy anxiety. Amazon Pharmacy makes it easy to get your meds, and they'll send them right to you fast. With Amazon Pharmacy, healthcare just got less painful.